Welcome back to another episode of the Man That Can Project podcast. Today I'm joined by my fiance, Amy Shepherd.
Hey, hey.
And Amy, you haven't been on the show. I was just quickly had to Google it, Amy and the Man That Can Project. And you were on for episode 61 and we were speaking about achieving success on a world stage, which we'll tie into a few of the questions we'll talk about today. And then also episode 105 with the discussion around body image, where we were talking about the Kiss My Fat Ass movement, which you created, which is awesome. But today we're in lockdown in Brisbane, Vegas. So yesterday we put a poll out, a question thing. I actually did, you didn't, but put a question thing out saying if we were to do a podcast, what questions or topics would you like to cover? And we've done our best to put them into a short little episode that we'll do now. But we'll be talking about building a life with a partner, how to navigate with being with someone famous, and mental health. Plus, I've got the card deck here. So for those who are watching on YouTube, I've got this card deck, and we're going to release a Man That Can one soon with some cool conversation starters while you're having a beverage, whether it's kombucha, coffee, or beverado, beer, champagne, where you can, they're good conversation starters. So we'll pull one out of the. Do you want to pull it out first, or?
Yeah, let's do it.
Let's use this to kick off the convo. I'll let you pull.
That's what she said.
Yeah, for everyone listening, watch the video because you know
I
what
can
this
just
is.
imagine
Yeah.
guys listening would say that.
All the boys would say that.
Yeah.
Well, what do we got? What do we got?
What are 3 things you were grateful for today?
I filled this out of my journal already.
Did you?
Well, what are 3 things you're grateful for today?
Look, it's day 3 of lockdown, so maybe I should be writing a gratitude journal right about now. I am grateful that we are safe. We have a safe place to be.
Yep.
I'm grateful that we're together, and I'm grateful that my business is able to continue despite the hardships and challenges we're facing at the moment.
Boom. Should I pull a different card or should I use the same one?
Pull a different one.
That's what she said. That's more of an affirmation, that one. Also an affirmation. Alright, come on, this is gonna be the one.
Lots of affirmations.
Oh, it's been a curveball of a year. What's the most important lesson you've learned? Ooh. I think the most important lesson is that we can only control what we can control. And I think we've been reminded of how important what is often thought of as the simple things are. Like family, having a good time. The simple things, even just freedom to be able to go outside, and grab a coffee or go to the gym. Things like that, I think, don't take the things that we do daily for granted. That was the most important lesson I've learned.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm pretty tired and drop the chair. But let's crack it. We have no idea how. We literally have not discussed it. Amy was just doing a few things, and I was jotting down a few notes from the questions. But we're just gonna wing it. So we'll see how we do. We'll get feedback from you guys. Building a life with a partner. What's your thoughts on that?
Oh, well, we've managed to do it, I think, after nearly 8 years together. Can you believe it's been 8 years?
I know it's gone so quickly, like really, really quickly.
Yeah. Blink of an eye.
It's interesting. I think our relationships was different in that the first you spent a lot of time traveling. So I still remember there were periods where you would go away for 3 months at a time, and our relationship was purely virtual, which was interesting. And it was also probably one of the motivators for me to have a more flexible career choice, so that when you do travel.
Yeah, it's funny. I wonder what career you'd be in now if we hadn't have met, or if...
I don't reckon I would have been motivated to change anything. I would have still been a fucking chippy, hating my life.
Isn't that funny? Everything happens for a reason. I'm a big believer in that.
Yeah.
Because it is just amazing when you look back and you're like, oh, if that didn't happen, I wouldn't be here. And
Hmm.
you know, it's weird, isn't it?
Yeah, I think it's important to have an idea of what you want to create together.
Sorry, I'm just thinking it's so funny because we can see our neighbours, and I just saw someone meditating, I saw someone over there painting. It's really cool to see people doing things.
Window shopping at people's lives.
Yeah, well, it's cool to see people getting creative and doing things they wouldn't normally do.
Yeah, if
Like,
you're not,
I've never seen a guy with an easel painting in Brisbane, but there he is.
where? Oh, I'll find that out later.
It'd be nice to come
Yeah, I forgot what I was saying, but no, I was saying I think it's important to have a common goal to work towards, because when you, well, not a common goal, sorry, like an expectation for the life that you want, like your children, where you want to live, like various things like that. Because if you don't, like people, without even being aware of it, can be working towards different goals, and then you might find yourself being resentful or making sacrifices that you don't want to make in the long term. I think we've done that really well.
I think we've had general goals, but we haven't really set limits on them.
No,
so things
yeah.
have been quite flexible as well, as they have to be.
Well, I think that's been the one thing we have, even whether you haven't been aware of it or not, but I've been aware of it, is like that there needs to be flexibility, because your career is so sporadic and sporadic
Yeah.
and all over the place. And with world travel, like I needed to make something that allowed that. I couldn't just go back to doing something where someone dictated my time, or when I could have holidays and everything like that.
Together if you were still a chippy.
No, not because I was a chippy, but more so around the time restraints and I was a shit chippy.
And so that we just bought a house, haven't we?
Yeah, we have, which is exciting. So we'll be working on that. But even so, what about like time apart? How was that for you? Like when we were first getting together, spending time apart for me, what was that like?
It's pretty shit, really. I think when you're first in when you're in a new relationship, it can be really anxiety inducing to be away from someone, and you're trying to work on the other side of the world when it's daytime, and your new partner is going out when you're, I don't know, like especially touring drives you a bit crazy. So I found that really difficult, just because you didn't know. I don't know, the trust wasn't there yet, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
As it is in every new relationship, you're still building trust, and you're still sussing out where that person sits on the
Trust.
morale
Yeah.
scale.
Where did you think I sat back then?
Well, I didn't know. How could I know? And you were a footy
What
bloke, from what I had seen on Facebook. And you're a footy bloke back then, weren't you?
Yeah. Well, our first date, actually, I took you to the Reds rugby with the boys, which was the greatest first
It's
date.
a miracle we're still here, really.
Well, that's when you know it's on. Because if you stuck by that, you're good to go. So, gents, make sure you take your partner on a date that you really enjoy and test them out.
Yeah, but it was interesting getting to know each other on Snapchat, which is...
Yeah, it was Snapchat and WhatsApp
back
and
then.
Viber. No, Viber was the thing back
I
then.
remember Snapchat had just brought out the feature where you had to hold it. You could call, but you had to hold it down the whole time. What kind of-
Thumb was sore as fuck.
Yeah, so we would literally chat for 3 hours, holding our thumbs down.
And then remember when they brought it in that you could swipe one way and it would lock it? So
That was the best, because that was before even, I think, FaceTime.
yeah, it was
It was the beginning of video.
video technology.
Isn't that weird?
Yeah.
Now it's just like, you take it for granted.
Yeah, exactly. Which is wild. Very, very wild.
Mm.
But yeah, I think the time apart, like, it brought up a whole heap of insecurities. Jealousy for the lifestyle that you lived. Then you feel lonely. Like, you go through all of those sorts of things, and then trying to, as you said, we're on different time zones. So while I was working, you were often asleep, and then as I'm winding down, that's when we had X amount of time to talk. And at the beginning, you're like, fuck yeah, I'll stay up late. But then after a while, you're like, sleep's so important. So your time to communicate, like over FaceTime and stuff, diminishes. But I think that we became really good at communicating in a way that we both felt valued. maybe.
Yeah, well, I guess you just make the most of that time, don't you?
Yeah.
Well, it's just like if you're with someone all the time, you just, I guess comes down to like taking that time for granted and like, oh, I'll see them whenever. But when you just have a short amount of time, you really can try and make the most of those small windows.
I think it's important as well, like going with like having time apart, because you get to spend time by yourself, and it actually, even though people don't like, you know, the anxiety inducing moments to come up, it's also a good opportunity to see where you sit with things, because often if you don't allow that time, it's still there, but you don't ever get the opportunity to maybe work on it or talk about it or discuss it or think about it.
I think it's important to have time to miss each other as well.
100%. It's
really lucky to get that quite a lot.
Exactly. When you go away or I go away, even if it's a day, you're like, fuck. Like one night.
Puts things into perspective.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Whereas a lot of people maybe don't get that. So maybe if you obviously live together like we do, and you rarely get a break from your partner, it might be worthwhile trying it, having a little staycation, and whether it's with your mates or just by yourself, like just to give yourself the opportunity to hang out by yourself, but also to miss your partner is a good thing to do. And obviously everyone's in different situations with, you know, where their life's at, children, etc. But you know, it works both ways. It's reciprocal if you can give your partner a breather and a staycation, and also get one for yourself. Can be fun. Keeps things interesting. And having different hobbies, I think.
Yeah, having your own life is important. You can't just, although you create a life together, but you still need separate hobbies, as you said, and different, I don't know, your own friends as well.
Yeah.
Like we do have friends together, but we also have separate friends, which is...
I think it's good because it gives us something to talk about. It sounds like we don't have anything to talk about, but it does give you, you know, it's interesting to find out what you've been doing with your friends and what, you know, what you've learned and vice versa. Same within the careers, like, you know, we have a lot of stuff we do together, but then also not knowing what's going on with the band or whatever, it's cool to find out what's happening there.
Yeah.
I find it interesting, and then I learn things that I can implement into my life or share with my mates, etc.
Yeah.
Which is important. So yeah, definitely don't lose your sense of identity and don't lose your individuality within your life, and just become almost dependent. I think it's remaining independent within the relationship,
Yeah,
like
for sure.
being there to enhance each other and amplify who you are, like who your partner is, but then also...
Yeah, I think you said it before. I would say the same thing, like if we did end up splitting up, our worlds wouldn't crumble.
Mine fucking would. What are you talking about?
Like, of course it would be devastating and you don't want that to happen, heartbreaking, you'd have to go through the grieving process, but we'd still have our own lives.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
We wouldn't have to start again.
And I think that's in, you know, once again...
There's a sense of security in that as well.
Yeah, well, it's just being certain in yourself and being able to take care of it. Yeah, just once again being independent. I think independence is such an important thing that we need to bring into a relationship, and also learn how to manage that. Like, some people are more dependent than others. I was probably super dependent at the start when I was jealous and insecure and stuff, but as I was, and that would probably segue into the next question, dating someone famous. But there's definitely heaps of insecurities around jealousy and not feeling good enough and a lot of stuff like that. So had I still been like I was in previous relationships where I didn't feel confident in myself and I didn't feel worthy, I would have become clingy and acted all fucking weird like I had previously. So I think that was there when I came into the relationship, and I still think, you know, have moments like that now, but I'm also more mindful that it's my own shit. It's not you as a person. We often project onto our partner what insecurities we have within ourselves. Like, I used to, with my last partner, think that she would be cheating, but that was only because I was cheating. I was projecting that shit on her. So
it's so weird, like you were angry.
Yeah, it's like a mirror. But a lot of blokes do this.
That's just bizarre, like you were getting angry at her for something you were doing.
Yeah, but because there would be because I knew what I was hiding. What your brain does when you become anxious or you don't feel worthy is you pick up on the smallest things, and then your brain goes, that could be this. and you tie it into all the mischievous shit you're doing. So then obviously for anyone who's experienced anxiety and your brain fucking runs rampant, it does that in that context, even if it's complete bullshit. But often, like, I never realized it was just a projection of what I was doing.
Yeah.
And because when you're guilty around something, it's still in the back of your mind, so you're like seeing it with this cloudy lens of guilt.
There you go.
Crazy. I feel like a
Well,
psychologist sometimes.
If it makes you feel better, I've never ever cheated on anyone.
Well, I feel
And
bad.
never will.
Well, see, I'm not even, and this brings it back to what we're talking about now. Like, I think I'm so comfortable with myself and love myself, and it sounds weird saying that out loud, but like I'm so happy within myself that even if you did, like you said before, it would be devastating and like you'd go through that whole emotional roller coaster, but it wouldn't affect my self-worth or ruin my life.
Yeah.
It'd just be like what a cunt move, but if you felt the need to do that, then obviously there was something missing within the relationship that you felt you could get elsewhere. But I think we communicate that well, and we, you do so much for me, and I hope it feels reciprocal where we, try to go above and beyond to make sure we're both feeling valued and satisfied and everything like that.
Yeah. So far, so good.
So far, so good. Obviously, we have our ups and downs like everyone else, but we never have screaming matches.
No.
That's one thing that's interesting. Actually, I was reading a post the other day, and a relationship, like those relationships where they're just fucking going at each other. And like,
We don't really go at each other either. We don't
passionate
really
about it, and I'm like,
really bicker that much.
no. Sometimes I think I used to be like burr up, but I think now sometimes I'll just shut down and go reserved. Do you notice that or no?
Yeah, of course I do. But I'd rather that than yelling.
Yeah, but
But as long as you talk about it after when you're ready.
yeah.
Because what's the point in just shutting down, pretending it never happened?
Exactly. But I don't believe that relationships need to have screaming matches. Like, there's people who try to just say, we get passionate and all this, and I'm like, no, you're just fucking very terrible at managing your emotions. And would you really fucking scream at someone you love? I wouldn't.
No.
It doesn't make sense to me. I've done it, but I always used to just think, oh, that's what other relationships do. I don't think that's healthy in a relationship. I could be wrong.
Yeah, it's weird because I don't think I've ever had screaming matches with, or maybe one or two, but
Yeah.
in the past.
You're just
That's
chill.
not really my nature.
Yeah, you're super chilled.
Yeah, I'd rather just talk it.
I would hate to piss you off though.
Oh yeah.
Probably chop my dick off.
Calculated.
Yeah.
I'd just rather talk it out and be upfront and honest.
Yeah.
What's the point? Like, yelling isn't going to achieve anything. You can say what you need to say without getting aggressive.
Yeah, and if one of us were to be yelling, we wouldn't be listening. I would just be like, shut the fuck up. Sounds ridiculous. But that, once again, that goes back to the importance of communication, and for us as independent human beings, being able to understand our emotions, what pisses us off, what doesn't. I think we do a really good job of not trying to piss each other, unless I'm intentionally trying to piss you off just for a laugh, which sounds weird, but I do it from time. Yeah.
Just have a sip of water.
Yeah,
Don't
yeah.
mind this drink bottle, it's really noisy.
But I do try to do that from time to time just for my own amusement. But I think we're both pretty good at reading where we're at. Because I do love my own personal space as well.
Yeah, so do I.
Yeah. So, yeah. To wrap that one up in a bow, building a life with a partner, have common things that you're working towards, and obviously focus on building a life together, but also maintain your independence with your own life and your goals and aspirations and friends. Anything else you'd add to that?
That's not to say you can't have couple friends.
No,
like,
fuck
we've got
no.
so many friends that we
Just
share.
Yeah, 100%.
But yeah, just stay independent.
Yeah.
Don't.
Because it keeps the relationship growing.
Yeah.
You want to always be growing and understand that, like, Amy's not the same person she was when I first met you. Your hair's still the same.
Yeah.
And I'm not the same bloke I was when you met me.
That's right.
I still remember when you
Thank
kicked
God.
me out of a taxi in Thailand.
Yeah, well, you deserved it. Didn't you?
I don't remember, I was so drunk. But I'm glad that hasn't happened since.
I'm just amazed that you knew how to get back to the hostel or wherever you were staying.
I don't remember how I got home. I just remember waking up the next day going, oh God, now I have to face the family.
What an idiot.
Anyway,
that's in the past.
so next, or do you have anything else you want to add on the building a life with a partner, anything like that? Time apart together, goals, importance of communication, how to love.
How to love?
Yeah,
What do you mean?
I don't know. Interpret that as you want.
Doesn't that just come naturally?
It does. Well, there's a whole heap of actions. I think love as well is like,
Learning the love languages?
yeah, learning the love languages. Amy's, is acts of kindness. Gifts. Gifts. I often wondered why Amy always used to do nice things for me and buy me nice treats, and I was like,
So acts of kindness and gifts.
yeah. And for me, it's physical touch, and I think a lot of blokes say this. It's physical touch, mate. I like physical touch, but I also like words of affirmation. Like I like being told.
Mm.
So it was very interesting until I read that book to realize that every time Amy gave me stuff, it was just more so that's how she likes to. That's what her love language is. That's how she expresses love and likes to give love. So for me, I was like, fuck, I better.
No more presents for you then.
Well, I actually haven't started giving you presents yet, apart from the odd flowers and a whopper of an engagement ring, which has got me covered for like the next 30 years.
30 years? Bloody hell.
Well, it does. Every time you look at it, you should just go, my man.
I do.
Thank you.
But that doesn't mean that I don't like a little present every now and then.
Yeah, I'll pick you something up from the supermarket. Yeah, that's love languages. Yeah, I think it's just once again, setting boundaries, expectations, and sometimes you just fall into the expectations around what happens around the house or, various other things. I think we do well at it.
Yeah. I like it how you don't expect me just to be a wife and like cooking, cleaning and all that.
Yeah. I think we're in a different generation.
Yeah, well, some people still fall into
Yeah.
those stereotypes. A lot of couples I know do.
Yeah.
Which is fine, it works for them, but it's not going to work for me. So.
Yeah, I think it's important to figure out what works for you, but
then we've worked out also, we've still worked out the roles.
yeah.
Like, I don't mind cooking.
You
as long as
froth
you...
on cooking, and I'm dish pig.
Yeah, and that's fine.
That
And
works
then-
a treat.
Like, I don't fold in office clothes.
I wear
We
wrinkled
both
clothes,
do.
as you can see on the YouTube.
We both do the washing,
Mhm.
and then we just fold our own thing,
Yeah.
which is cool.
We only just got our first joint bank account after 7
There's
years.
probably people who've been married listening to this. They've been married for a long time, and we're just like, we're not even married. Here's all this advice.
Yeah. Oh, it's not even advice, just
Just the way we do things.
yeah, way we do things. And if you feel like implementing something, giving it a tester, give it a crack. But it works well for us so far, which is a cool thing. Moving on to the next one, how you navigate with being with someone famous. And I would imagine this is directed at you, because one time when we were in Austria or somewhere, where were we?
I think Paris even.
Might have been in Paris.
Somewhere in Europe.
And we were walking down the middle of the street, and we're very used to, like when we're walking around the place, people will stop and go, oh my God, Amy Shepherd, can I get a photo with you? Or I love this and I love that. And I just stand there like this awkward offsider and then sometimes ask to take a photo. But now these days people want selfies. They don't even, I'm actually useless. I'm like, do you want me to take a photo? No, I'll grab a selfie.
Yeah.
But this one time, and it was the very first time and pretty much only time it's ever happened, and I panicked, where this chick came up in Paris. We'll use Paris, I don't actually remember.
Yeah,
what
maybe
it
it
was.
was Austria. Anyway.
And down the middle of the street, actually you tell the story, I don't want to tell the story about myself.
Oh, we got stopped at the traffic lights.
And I was like, fuck, here we go again.
Just like, the Mannequin,
Rookies
rookies to
to-
regional. Lucky, I follow you. And she was Austrian or French. And yeah, she was fangirling over Lockie. And she's like, I love your page, Rookies to Regional.
The Rookies to Regionals page was just myself and Brad documenting our CrossFit journey.
And then I think I had to take the photo of you guys.
I panicked because it had never happened before, so if anyone ever feels like it could happen, just do a few rehearsals at home, like how you would play it, because I fucking panicked and I, you know, the moment got away from
It's
me.
amazing, like all across the world that girl has been following you.
Yeah.
And then saw us. It's a small world.
Yeah,
after
where
all.
social media really connects people. Anyway, back to how I navigate with being with someone famous. It was interesting. I still remember. So obviously, when Amy and I met, I was a chippy piece of shit, and you hadn't released Geronimo at this time. You'd released
Let Me Down Easy,
Let Me Down Easy.
which did
Yeah, it did
in
well,
Australia.
but I'd never heard of.
Well, we weren't famous.
Yeah, I'd never heard of, because I was listening to Triple J's back then. That was cool. I was trying to be cool anyway.
Yeah. That's
Cool kid.
I
But
don't say any more on that.
yeah, no comment. Yeah, obviously then we hit it off. There is a YouTube video of how we hit it off on Amy's YouTube.
That I don't use anymore.
Yeah, that Amy doesn't use. But if you want to watch that, go watch it. Just type in Amy Shepherd, how we first met, something like that.
Yeah.
And I still remember walking downstairs one morning when Scooter Braun, so Scooter Braun is Justin Bieber's manager, had emailed your management to be like, we want to sign Shepherd. This was after Geronimo had just started taking off. And for those who haven't heard the song Geronimo, just type Geronimo in to Spotify or whatever after this episode, but type it in after. Keep listening. And was like, we want to sign it. And I just, in my head, I was like, fuck, I'm gone here. Because I just,
Really?
yeah, 100%. I just remember thinking, what have I got to offer? And once Amy gets to LA and meets all these famous people, I'm done. And
It's so
it's-
funny because I was excited to have met someone before it all took off. Because how do you meet someone when you're well known? It's like, I'm so grateful to have met you before Tinder. Like, can you imagine me being on Tinder? Like, no. You know, you wouldn't be able to trust anyone and like.
Yeah, you don't know
I
what
wouldn't
people's
be on
motives, or you got to question what people's motives, especially in this day and age with so many people wanting to be famous or just to be famous. Like, there's,
That's gross.
yeah, people are just obsessed with fame and notoriety. Like, it's crazy. So,
Sometimes people don't really know what it's like.
yeah, it's,
I'm always like, I hope these people get what they want because then they can.
you
I don't know,
lose,
It's like a deal with the devil, really.
yeah, you lose, as George said, you lose the ability to make first impressions. People assume they know you, that they have no idea.
Or it's just like even being in a room where you're not, I don't know, like not an event, but just being in a normal room and someone's just like trying to get you in the back of their
Yeah,
selfie video, like things like that is really.
I really fucking hate it actually when people use me to get to you as well. Like the amount of times that happens, you just like, as soon as someone brings it up, I just don't respond. Like at all. I've got zero tolerance for it now where I'm trying to make the connection for someone to leapfrog me to get to you, and it does my head in. So I've
That's
just
rude, isn't it?
chosen to
Well,
not
especially this day and age when my email is literally on my Instagram page.
Yeah.
Like,
people just, yeah, once again it's that thing. But I guess for me navigating, there was heaps of things. Like even it was really hard because I'd always wanted to, like with footy, like was to be successful and to be significant, and then end up with someone who is more successful and more significant in regards to, not on a global level. I think to people in regards to fame and stuff, that was hard to swallow because I think for a lot of us blokes, we want to be the provider, we want to be the main breadwinner, which is an interesting thing to, I think I've adapted to it well, but
yeah, it just comes down to ego and being like,
yeah, swinging a big dick, and I used to want to be the big dick swinger, but now,
I've got the big dick.
now you've got the big dick. So that's always interesting, but I think as well, like as with everything we've spoken about now, it's like just understand, like talking about the roles and the boundaries and the expectations, and you know, obviously I haven't just wanted to ride your coattail of success. I've been probably the complete opposite, where I want to make my own
Yeah, I think that's been something.
thing.
Yeah, that's really
Until this episode, I want this episode to blow the podcast up.
admirable about what you've done. Like you've never had to ride my coattails or ask for any connections. Like you've done it all yourself, and maybe me being quote unquote famous in on some capacity. I wouldn't say that I'm like has probably pushed you to work harder in your own career. What you really wanted to do with your life.
Yeah, definitely makes me work hard because I don't want to be mediocre. And it's still, once again, going back to the lifestyle. Like, if I don't work well, if I don't achieve what I do with the Man That Can project, then the risk of working a normal job, which I don't want to do, not saying it's bad, it just doesn't fit into what I want.
But everyone should know that you've got a pretty big following now, and that's all credit to you.
Yeah.
I would hate for anyone to think that, it's because he's marrying Amy Shepherd and she's got a following.
I would love more followers though from that. Come fucking jump on the bandwagon. As long
everyone's
as you
welcome. I'm just saying, like, I had nothing to do with your success.
It's completely different audiences. But it's also shown me what's possible when you do put out a genuine message and an authentic message. And just even the world's changed so much in the fact that you can make a living through social media, you've done it through music, but we don't have to just work the traditional business. And I think I've always said it to you, is like, I want to make my own money. And even to the point, like, when we have children, I've always wanted to be in a position where if we decide, like, when we decide to do that, I can just go, cool, I'm staying with the kids, because I always hear how people put them in daycare and dads miss out on growing up, and that's just something that I don't want to accept for our life. So it's like, whereas some people do, which is, once again,
well, some people just don't have a choice, do they?
I think everyone has a choice. It's just how, once again, like, the older you get or the more responsibility you have in regards to work or mortgages, etc., makes it harder. Or there's more things to consider when you make that choice.
But if you're both lawyers and that's your passion, you have to both go to work. You don't have a choice not to put your kid in daycare, do you?
Yeah, but it is a choice. So you choose the time with your family. Everything comes down to choices, I believe. We're gonna butt heads now. No, but I think it's you do have the choice at the end of the day. Obviously.
Oh, like the man, you choose for your husband to stay at home while you go to work.
Yeah.
For example.
Yeah, for 100%. Like, that's the choice. Even though, like, we've seen it for so long, where a lot of in the past, a lot of females sacrifice their career and everything like that to stay at home with the children. But that's choice. And while every choice has consequences, there's also the upside to it, right? They build a better relationship with children, even though their career comes to a halt. But I'm saying blokes can make the same fucking choice. I think often what factors into that is who earns who has a higher income,
which is usually men.
Yeah, like there's a whole, like I said, from a contextual point of view, there's a whole heap of things that weigh in on the choice and the decision.
But also, because if you want more than one kid, it's probably more sensible that, not sensible, but it's just the way the world works. If you want to have more kids and you've got to take more time off maternity leave.
Yep.
Yeah, sadly, more females end up having to give up their careers.
Yeah, of course. And so my way of thinking, to tie it back around, has always been, okay, well, that's a thing. Like, we'll obviously have children, but I don't want any of us have to have. I want the choice to be able to still do what I love, and for you to still do what you love, but also to actually be a family. And that's why, for me, I've spent so much time building the business the way that I've built it, where there is flexibility. I can work from my laptop. I have unrestricted earning potential based on how I want to work and what's going on in my life, as do you. So even though when the time comes, you can go, I can have a break, you can start back up whenever you want, or you can keep going through that while navigating the balance of who's looking after what, etc. And I think a lot of people maybe don't feel they can do that, and once again, depending on where they're at, what position they're currently in, may make it easier or harder. Like, I was fortunate, and you started at 20, like you started music at a young age, but like you had Geronimo take off at what, 23, 24?
24.
And I started learning how to run an online business at 24, and it's only really been in the last 3 years where it's paid off.
Yeah.
So once again, at 23, we didn't have mortgages, we didn't have children. We were fortunate to have support from our parents, like all these things. So there's a whole heap of shit that plays into it, but I still believe everyone has the ability to do that if you're prepared to work, learn, and communicate. I think with technology the way it is, we can all do it.
Yeah.
I think we've gone off topic, but that's all right.
Where are we?
we were talking about navigating someone famous, but yeah, I think I don't really view you as someone famous.
No, I
to be
don't
fair.
view myself as someone famous.
I just
And I don't really value fame.
no, I don't think you do either.
I value music and being
Yeah.
able to make people happy through music. I don't value someone who's famous and people who are trying to get famous just for the sake of people knowing who they are. Like
Yeah.
that's bizarre.
It's interesting, like Dave Chappelle and Joe Rogan on that episode. If you haven't listened to the latest Dave Chappelle episode on Joe Rogan, it's good because they talk about fame and celebrities. No, it's celebrities and fame. Anyway, like Joe Rogan's obviously hugely well known, but never goes to red carpet events, doesn't give a shit about any of that sort of stuff because he enjoys doing what he does to the point that it's made him extremely well known, but he doesn't feel the need to have to be a flashy bloke just to get more media attention.
Yeah.
And I think so many people are striving for that fame.
Validation.
Yeah, that validation that comes with what we perceive fame
But
as.
that's what to say, like I am really grateful for my audience and
I'm grateful for my audience as well.
for yeah.
But I wouldn't say that.
Like I don't want to just be famous for being famous.
Yeah, like yeah,
Yeah.
through value, delivering value.
Exactly.
But you don't, you know.
Yeah, but I don't feel famous. You know what I mean? Like I'll literally walk down the street looking like this. And it's like if Daily Mail want to do an article on it, then they can. But I'm just me.
Yeah. But that's it. There were other questions, but I couldn't be bothered answering them.
Yeah, those are funny ones. Some we won't answer.
Yeah, no. But guys, thanks for posting in the questions. I hope we covered what you wanted to hear. You can always ask us more questions, and maybe in another 110 or 210 episodes time we can get Amy back on. But our key points, obviously, to build a life together, have common goals, remain independent, spend like quality time together. Like it's good to have that time to miss each other. So you can obviously learn more about yourself, but then appreciate the time that you do have together. If you are, I think I wouldn't say navigate being with someone famous, but being in a relationship where you're not the sole breadwinner. Like from a bloke's perspective, drop the fucking ego. Like that's.
I think as long as you're working together
Yeah.
for a common goal, it doesn't really matter where the
where
money
comes
comes
from.
from.
Exactly. As long as you're able to spend time and do the things you want to do, perfect. And work on your own self-worth. And I think invest time in yourself. I think everyone who's listening to this is doing exactly that. You're ahead of most people where you're spending time to learn from other people's perspectives. You can, take some stuff on board and disregard others, but just utilize what you feel is going to improve your quality of life or your relationships. Sweet.
Cool.
Easy. Done. Thank you guys for tuning in. Remember, if you're tuning in for the first time, hit follow, hit subscribe, share it with your buddies, and we'll probably have a few more ladies listening in to this episode. So, ladies, thanks for tuning in. Share these episodes with your husbands, friends, dads, brothers, sons,
Girlfriends, wives.
everyone. Just share it non-stop. Thanks for tuning in.